Good day. In today's video, we will be discussing the global economy. Let us first discuss the intended learning outcomes for this topic. Number one, define economic globalization. Number two, identify the actors that facilitate economic globalization. Number three, explain the role of international financial institutions in the creation of a global economy. And last, equip students with the 21st century learning and develop higher order thinking skills that will lead towards a deeper understanding of a global economic structures as well as articulate a stance on global economic integration and how it impacts the Philippines. Now, I'd like you to look into your screen. How do you understand this statement? But before that, let me read it for you. Don't trust everything you see. Even salt looks like sugar. What does it mean? It only means that you should not believe to whatever your eyes is seeing, because at the end of the day, it might not be the true thing. On the other hand, it is somewhat similar to the statement, do not judge the book by its cover. Meaning, you must stop judging and doubting the book. Why? Because for you to be able to appreciate the whole book itself, you have to read from page 1 up to the last page for you to be able to understand the whole book. Now, what's the relationship of this to our topic or to our discussion? What idea can we formulate on that particular statement? Anyone from the class? Yes. The idea is all about deceit. Now, what's the other synonym for deceit? It is misinformation, misrepresentation. A deceitful act creates confusion. Now, what's the relationship of deceit to our discussion? Deceit, we can relate it to our discussion to the global economy. So, let us first define what global economy means. Now, let us first understand the following definition, because we will be meeting all this definition along our discussion. Number one, financial institution. These are corporations that provide services as intermediaries of financial markets. So when we talk about financial institution, these are big corporations that aids in the financial market by giving several services. Number two, you have banks. A financial institution licensed to receive, deposit, and make loans. So, in a much simpler term, when we talk about banks, these are institutions wherein people put their money, deposits their money, and of course, these are also institutions that allows people to loan certain amount of money. Number three, balance of payment. The difference in total value between payments into and out of the country over a period of time. So when we talk about balance of payment, these are payment inside and outside the country over a period of time. Deficit, the amount by which something, especially a sum of money, is too small. So meaning when we talk about deficiency or deficit, the word deficit, it tells us something about uh, the lacking of funds. Okay. Next, number five, you have loans. Are any form of money, property, or other materials, goods given to another party in exchange for future repayment of the loan value or principal amount along with interests of finances or charges. Now, uh, giving a much more simpler definition, loans are either money, property, or goods and services that are given by banks uh, to individuals or corporations for them to use it to create another business. Number six, devaluation. It is the reduction or underestimation of the worth or importance of something. Now, when we talk about devaluation, the decreasing the decreasing percentage of the value or worth of, for example, money or property. Next, number seven, money is any item or verifiable record that generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayment of debts such as taxes, in particular country or socio-economic context. When we talk about money, we're referring to the means of payment or the tool that is being used by people to pay for goods and services. Again, let me clarify that when we talk about money, these are instruments that are used by people to pay for goods and services or repayment of debts, taxes, etc. All right. Now I like you to look into the pictures and I like you to observe the pictures. Okay. You have picture number one. Now, what can you say about picture number one? This is the most devastating part for a parent selling their children. For children for sale, inquire within. It's like the mother is selling her children similar to that of a puppy dog. The second picture on your left, on your right, in the upper right, you will note here untidy children, even without any shoes on them. And then on at the bottom right, you see a lot of people queuing. Probably they are queuing for a movie or to watch a movie, or there's a big news, or they're looking for employment. And on your left, the left bottom part, you will note here there are people who are there are lots of people and they are somewhat into raising their concern about women contingent national hunger march. So we can say that it's probably a rally that happened during those times. Now, summing up all these pictures, what does it tells us? It's all about the Great Depression. Now, what is the Great Depression? Anyone from the class? Can you recall your previous history subject? Yes, the Great Depression is it's all about it is a severe worldwide economic depression that took place mostly during the 1930s, beginning in the United States of America. So the Great Depression took place during the 1930s and started in the United States of America. So what causes the Great Depression? Number 1, it began after the stock market crash on October 1929, which sent Wall Street into panic and wiped out millions of investors. So, uh, based on this statement, it started in the United States of America, particularly on October 1929, when 1929 was about to end, particularly on the month of October. Uh, there was a sudden landslide in the investment in Wall Street, and millions of dollars were lost from investors. Number two, trade protectionism. This refers to the policy of protecting domestic industries against foreign competition by means of tariffs, subsidies, import quotas, or other restrictions or handicap placed on the imports of foreign competitors. So, when we talk about trade protectionism, um, the product of a particular country is being protected through its competitors or foreign products by imposing uh, taxes or tariffs, subsidies, import quotas. Uh, these are forms of discouragement for foreign products not to uh, export their products on that particular country. Next, you have exchange controls. This is somewhat related to trade protectionism. When we talk about exchange control, there are several products that are being controlled to by the government to be exported. So, meaning the government of that particular country is controlling the exchange of goods and services. And of course, interwar periods. When we talk about interwar periods, uh, these are these are internal conflicts that happened in the United States of America during the 1930s, either political, either social. So this is this uh, this particular incident also affected the fall or also affected the economy of America, leading to the Great Depression. What was the solution? The solution was the Bretton Woods Conference of 1944, which led to the creation of the following: number one, International Monetary Fund; number two, World Bank; number three, General Agreements on Tariffs and Now, what do we mean by global economy? So, we will now give the definition of the global economy. The global economy refers to all the economies of the world considered as one unit. It also refers to how interdependent countries have become. So, meaning when we talk about global economy, we're referring to the sum of all economies around the globe, or these are the economies of countries around the world. What's the purpose of the International Monetary Fund? Its purpose is to promote global monetary cooperation and international financial stability. So, meaning its purpose is to create cooperation among countries around the world by being financially stable with one another. This institution is designed to monitor the system of fixed exchange rate. Later on, we'll discuss what a fixed exchange rate means. It also provides short-term loans. So, technically speaking, when we talk about international monetary funds, it also gives or it also allows loan for those countries that are in need of loan. Fixed exchange rate means the official exchange rate of currencies and were related to gold and the US dollar. Now, when we talk about this particular idea, we're referring to the standard monetary system, the standard monetary system that are acceptable among countries in the world. So it is based on the US dollar and the amount of gold of the country. Now, what's the purpose of the World Bank? Number to provide long-term loans for the economic development of less developed countries and the reconstruction of war-torn countries in Europe. So ideally, the World Bank was created for reconstruction and development of those countries that were affected by World War II. It is made of two institutions, namely, number one, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, which provides lending to middle income and credit-worthy low income countries. So technically speaking, when we talk about International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, these are this is a this is part of World Bank that gives loan to those countries that are credit worthy, meaning those countries that can pay for a loan. Number two, International Development Association. It's also part of World Bank, which grants credit and loans to lowest income countries. So you will note here the difference. The difference is um, they have given identities for the countries that can pay for yung credit-worthy countries and the low-income countries. Now, what's the purpose of the General Agreements on Tariffs and Trade and the World Trade Organization? Sir, the purpose of General Agreement Tariffs and Trade is to avoid trade wars by raising protectionism barriers as witnessed during the interwar periods. So, meaning this institution were created protect uh, to protect investors from trade wars and to avoid protectionism barriers as witnessed during the interwar period. Now, the limits of the general agreements on tariffs and trades are this. They are unable to address the following: expansion of trades and services. So meaning they have no control when it comes to uh, if I'm a businessman and I would like to expand my business, they have no control on that. So meaning um, if business people would like to extend their business outside their country, the general agreements and tariffs and trade cannot intervene if there would be problem that may arise during the process. Okay, the GATT cannot also intervene in investment, intellectual property. This is very serious. Intellectual property, especially for those inventors, especially for book authors, especially for a newly created product that was created by a specific author, the general agreement on tariffs and trade has no control on it. So why do I include, or why do you think that this particular topic is included in the limitation of GATT? Because uh, GATT's role supposed to be is to protect investment, to protect business. But then again, there are certain limitations that were not anticipated by GATT. GATT was replaced by the World Trade Organization in 1995, which addressed the mentioned issues. So the General Agreements on Tariff and Trade was replaced by the World Trade Organization. That gives emphasis on the protection of expansion of trades and services. So meaning, if a businessman would like to expand his business outside the country of origin of that particular business, the World Trade Organization can intervene if problem may arise during the process. Investment, of course, similar. World Trade Organization has the right to intervene. And of course, number three, intellectual property. So, um, intellectual property was addressed by the World Trade Organization in 1995 because um, um, it was a prevalent thing that usually an idea is stolen from the original creator. So it was actually addressed in World Trade Organization. So now investors have the right to claim and protect their inventions. Now, what do we mean by international monetary system? Answer: it is a set of general rules, legal norms, instrument, and institution shaping the payment condition in foreign trade. Okay, so when we talk about international monetary system, these are policies with regards to monetary monetary use or um, monetary uh, management. Types of international monetary system: we have the gold standard. It was created in England, being the first country to industrialize. It is the first monetary system of the world. Its function is as a fixed exchange rate regime where countries determine the gold content of their national currencies, which would define the fixed exchange rate. So when we talk about uh, international monetary system, the first international monetary system was created and invented in England, being the first country to be industrialized. They introduced the gold standard. The gold standard is a type of monetary system wherein um, the country's currency is dependent to its amount of gold. Ayan. Next, you have number two, the gold bullion standard. In this standard, banknotes were exchangeable for gold bullion of fixed weight, therefore involving only the exchange of large sums of money. So you have the gold bullion, meaning banknotes were usually used in exchange for gold that has a certain fixed weight. So instead of using money, uh, people use banknotes to identify or to transact or to purchase or to exchange for gold bullion that has a fixed weight. Next, number three, you have the floating system. The floating system is a regime where the currency or price of a nation is set by the forex market based on the supply and demand relative to other currencies. So the floating system is the most widely used nowadays. So the currencies are dependent on the supply and demand factor, okay, based on forex market. This is somewhat related to stocks. All right, for your assessment, explain your thoughts about the picture. What word will best summarize all the pictures? All right. Now, this picture is the summary of our discussion. You don't need to you don't need to submit it, and you will not be submitting anything because I have allocated a module for you to work uh, on this topic or for this topic. All right. What do you think is the meaning of these pictures? Number one, you have bread and butter. Number two, you have socks and shoes. And this is the summary of our topic about the global economy. All right. Now, the global economy is all about the interdependence of countries around the world. Why? Why they are interdependent with one another? Why they are interdependent with one another? Because of because of loans. Because of the previously mentioned institution that grants loans to countries that ask for it. Diba? So that's essentially that is that is essentially the idea about this topic, the global economy. Countries around the world are interdependent with one another because of loans, because of debts. All right? Any questions? There being none, class dismissed.